some liberal. Happy Thursday to all. There's a hell of a lot still going on in the news. We're still hanging on by a string. There are reports that still everyone's waiting to hear, particularly coming out of Fulton County, Georgia. Many folks want to know, will Fani Willis be taken off the case? Make no mistake about it, she is the overzealous prosecutor trying to take down President Trump. Will she successfully be able to do it? That's what we're going to be discussing today. So in addition to discussing Fani Willis, and what I will do, because it seems like we're having a little bit of trouble on TikTok. We're going to start the TikTok app over while we're getting the audience to come in. We're going to be talking about Fani Willis. Not in addition to Fani Willis, though, President Trump is obviously dealing with a total of four different jurisdictions in terms of prosecutions. What are they? Well, the first one is the hush money case that is being brought up on him by none other than Alvin Bragg in New York. Then he will also be dealing with the classified documents case. A lot of folks believe the classified documents case is a witch hunt. We will be talking about that as well. In addition, election interference. Now, is this to find me 11,000 votes? The fraudulent, what they call them, fake electors? And then last but not least, the Fulton County, Georgia case. I believe that's one and the same, is it not? The election interference and Fani Willis case in Fulton County are now, because I'm a little hazy on those two. But look, we're going to be discussing all this, and we're going to tie it into the absolute fact that in most cases, Trump is still beating Biden in the polls, which is why the live stream is titled Biden's Low Polls versus Trump's Cases, or Biden is losing and Trump is winning. How can that be? With Trump facing so many charges, so many folks suggesting he is some sort of criminal, how is he still putting the ropes to President Biden? To some degree, with the amount of handicapping that's being bestowed upon Trump, and he's still competitive in the polls, it would lead you to believe he's actually kicking Biden's ass. Imagine if Trump didn't have any criminal charges. If he can do all of this with the courts tying his hands behind his back, how far ahead is he really of Biden? He should be significantly further when you compare him versus Biden, other than the fact that the courts are saying that the guy's a criminal multiple times over. Yeah! Hockey, thank you for the hat and mustache. Thank you. So we're going to be asking that question. Why is Biden losing to Trump in a variety of polls, in fact, most of them, when Trump is supposedly some sort of heinous criminal that needs to be disqualified from office? Is Biden that weak of a candidate, or as some folks are suggesting already in the comments, is the charges Trump facing just literally a fabrication, complete witch hunts? What is it? And also, we want to focus on the fact that Trump does appear to be considerably more well-liked in terms of, look at the Republican support for Trump versus the Democratic support for Biden. Remember, Trump is supposed to be damn near Al Capone. Why is Trump so heavily favored by his supporters compared to Biden? The obvious question, what the hell is wrong with Biden? Folks on the left believe that Biden, whether it's the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure bill, the economy coming back on course, folks on the left believe Biden's doing a good job. Then why the hell don't nobody like him? What is it about Biden that appears to be doing so dismal in the polls? Those are the topics we're going to discuss today. You know how the program is run. It is, always will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So understand, whether you agree or disagree with yours truly or anyone else in the comment section, no one gives a damn. It's all about free speech here, folks. You're going to go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. We do believe in free speech. Ginger! Ginger, thank you. Starting the program off right with the Teddy. Thank you, Ginger. So going to the box, or better yet, the comment section, none of yours, 81, says polls are never accurate. I don't totally agree with that. I agree that the polls were wrong about Hillary Clinton. The polls were wrong about the red wave. But when it came to Trump being the presumptive Republican nominee, the polls were spot on. Everyone knew from the polling from day one, Trump was going to beat all 9 of his contenders running for this particular go-round. And he did. The polls were spot on accurate. So I don't necessarily buy into the polls are always wrong. Looking in the comments on YouTube, brother, I'm in South Africa, but I can tell you this. I love Trump. Wow. Love for President Trump all the way from South Africa, and it's certainly a pleasure to have you here in the chat. Good day to you over there. Have you done a poll, Tim? I know I have never seen a poll, so who are they polling? They are never correct. Yes, I've done numerous polls, but I do eat, sleep, and breathe politics, so I get surveys, which are polls. I get phone calls, which are polls. I get emails to click on links, which I actually do, which are, I've been polled a lot, but I do get your point in terms of a lot of folks don't get polled, but I get phone calls and everything. But I've donated money to campaigns and shit. When I go to the political outings, I don't mind putting my name down on the list if you want to contact me. I went to a Trump rally, 4 or 5 months ago? Put my name down on the list. You don't mind being called? Sure, call me up. So I get messages from the Trump campaign, I get messages from the Biden campaign, and a lot of down ballot politicians. So yeah, I have been polled. Buy his hats, buy his sneakers, just don't say your patriotism. Yeah, I don't believe buying a hat or buying a pair of shoes makes you a patriot. Well said. Going to the box, let's start the program off with Mr. Greenland. Indeed, an individual in Greenland. Mr. Greenland, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Just a minute. I cannot hear you.
I can actually hear you.
Oh, now it's fine.
Okay. So now, obviously you're in Greenland. What time is it there?
It's 4 o'clock.
Okay. Now, it's the questions we're discussing today. I don't know if you would have any knowledge. I mean, because you're not in America, so I understand you do follow some American politics. But in Greenland, do you folks believe? Because there's lots of allegations that Trump is a criminal. Do you guys view him as as inappropriate to be a leader over there?
Yes, definitely.
So you guys are no fan of Trump in Greenland either?
No.
Why not?
Oh man, it's the way he acts, all the way he reacts to people, everything. He's unpolite. He doesn't respect other people. And as a politician, you need to respect people. If you want to help them, provide for them, give them opportunities, then you really need to respect other people.
I mean, I'm fine with respect, but at the end of the day, folks would suggest that Trump is a businessman, and if he's getting the job done, the hell with respect. If you're actually leading the country down the correct path. I mean, we didn't have a lot of global conflicts under President Trump. You guys weren't as close to a Putin invasion of Eastern Europe as some might suggest now. You didn't favor any of that under Trump?
Not at all. It's not only, you Americans always think of that your president always decides everything in the world.
Yeah.
It's not even close, because the war is not because of Trump. Didn't happen. The war happened because of Putin prepared for war for a long time, for many years.
Yeah, but what about the notion that Putin had some type of reservation in regards to doing this under Trump because Trump would likely interfere and respond in a way that wouldn't be favorable to Russia, but Biden being a weaker leader might be the opportune time for him to strike.
That's not what I think. That's not what I see at all. Because Putin was building up hospitals, fuel station next to the Ukrainian border when Trump was there. Mm-hmm. And Trump even could not say against anything to Putin.
Mm. So what you're suggesting is that if Trump was still, because he could have won a second term, he lost, but he could have been, he could be coming to an end of a second term right now. You're saying that even if Trump had gotten reelected and Biden lost, you think Putin would have still invaded the Ukraine?
Yeah, definitely. And I think Trump would have allowed him and do not help NATO.
Mm-mm. Wait, you think Trump would have allowed Putin to invade the Ukraine and would not be of help to NATO? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, definitely. That's what I said.
Why do you think Trump would not be of any assistance to NATO? That's we're bound by treaty. Attack one, attack all.
That's because he was preparing to try to get out of NATO to get his will.
Now, the NATO member states have a military budget that they are obligated to maintain, and they had fell behind. Trump simply wanted them to maintain their military budget. I don't know. You're saying he was going to get out of NATO altogether no matter what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Where'd you hear that from?
The way he acted, the way he talked to other politicians, other world leaders, the way he wanted, and if he didn't get what he wanted, he threatened actually to get out of NATO.
Mm. Now now your country, Greenland, you guys are a NATO member state, are you?
Yes, we are.
You're in NATO.
Yeah, we are part of Denmark, and Denmark is part of NATO.
Okay, so do you fear that if Russia is allowed to conquer the Ukraine, they would continue on in the region, or would they just stop at Ukraine?
I don't think they will stop. Maybe it would take a few years to prepare for another war, and they will start again.
Mm. So you do see Putin as trying to reestablish the Soviet Union?
Yeah, I think he wanted the borders at the Soviet Union because it had the safest borders at the time in the Soviet Union in the 80s, where they had the mountains to protect Russia. And now they do not have it because Ukraine is not a member of the Soviet Union anymore.
So what do you guys think of Biden? I mean, because even here in America, his poll numbers are awful. Do you guys favor Biden, who is our current leader?
Yeah, we favor Biden, but he's not the best president in my opinion. But he's much better than Trump or any Republican you had for the last 50 years.
Wow. You think so? Well, it's crazy that everybody speaks positively of Biden, but they add that disclaimer in there. He's not the best president. So I don't know. I don't know if folks, are we saying this because maybe we just don't like Trump?
I think Trump is extremely dangerous. If he gets elected, I think he will try to be a dictator. Definitely.
But we had Trump in office, and did you guys feel unsafe when he was in office for 4 years? I mean, we had less conflicts. Go ahead.
Yes, I think we were very unsafe around the world. It seems like Trump was a ticking bomb.
Ooh. A ticking bomb. Based on what?
The way he acts, the way he talks to other world leaders, he doesn't have any respect for the other people. He pushes people around. If he doesn't get his way, he's rude. That's not how you're supposed to be as a world leader.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of world leaders that are rude, though, Mr. Greenland. I mean, that's not unusual, is it?
But he's supposed to be the leader of the free world, but he didn't act like that.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Now, I appreciate you coming through as always, getting it from an overseas perspective. That's wow. So you guys are certain. So it would be safe to say you're concerned if Trump wins again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the way I feel like in America, most of Americans are uninformed about different politics from around the world. In America, if you give progressive politics a chance, you would not come back to politics the way you do it now, because you haven't given it a chance. You would have it much better if you have a progressive politics.
Progressive politics. All right, fair enough. Real quick, someone in the comments on YouTube, because we run it simultaneously on YouTube. Prime said, "Do you watch CNN?" In other words, are you getting all your news from CNN?
I look at all the news. I look at the right-wing politics, left-wing politics. I try to get all my information from everybody, so I can feel well informed.
That's the way you should do it. All right, Mr. Greenland, I do got to move it on. Talking to you as usual. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving the program on. Great Mr. Greenland says, Leslie, thank you too, Leslie, for your input. Nobody watches CNN, says Deborah Allen. I watch some CNN. I watch a lot of Fox. It's usually running all day long. I watch CNN at night. Certainly News Nation, for you folks who may be aware, News Nation is a network that I'm quite fond of lately. It's a newer news network. But News Nation, everybody from Cuomo to O'Reilly, all of the Fox and CNN former folks, they're former journalists, they're all going to News Nation now. So I'm a big News Nation fan. Looking in the comments, yes, we need Trump, says BB here. A lot of folks agree with you, but other folks, like what we were just talking to, fear Trump's influence as being negative to freedom in general. We'll just say freedom in general. So going back to the box real quick, we're talking about why is Biden's poll numbers so dismal compared to Trump if Trump is supposedly this Al Capone level criminal. He had 91 charges. I believe 3 of his charges were dropped yesterday, the Fani Willis case. And by the way, who knows if Fani Willis is still going to survive herself. But so Trump is in the 80s. What would that be? 88 charges or something like that. So if Trump is dealing with so many damn felonies, why isn't Biden trouncing him in the polls? At this point, with all the negativity orbiting around Trump, it's like he's fighting Biden with his hands behind his back. Yet he is still competitive. Why is there so much love for Trump and so little for Biden? What the hell is wrong with Biden? Going back to the box, all law applies. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. All law applies. This should be a good conversation. Good afternoon.
What to do, Mr. Liberty?
Not much at all. So what's wrong with Biden?
Man, Biden messing up our economy, man. People know that, man. All right, look, I'm gonna say this. If I move in your backyard, could you do something about it?
Yeah, I can shoot your ass. If you're unwanted, go ahead.
So we go back to the history of Russia, right? Ukraine was a part of Russia back then.
Okay, in America, Texas was a part of Mexico. What's your point?
Oh, okay, but they unified to make Ukraine. The Russian gave the Ukraine its own independence. The reason why Russia ain't never invaded Ukraine during that time, the United States the United States is the bad guy in all this. The United States is in everybody's stuff. That's the reason why we're funding these folks, constantly funding these folks.
Yeah. So what? So wait. What are you saying? You're saying that Ukraine used to be part of Russia. So are you suggesting that because the Ukraine used to be part of Russia, Russia can reclaim it at any time?
No, not even that state. The United States is doing business over there in Ukraine. The reason why the Russia don't, it's not a good look. You see what I'm saying? Like Russia cannot come build it. They can't come build a base in Mexico. You see what I'm saying? But the United States can have their bases in other people's places. It's dictatorship.
I get that, but do you see Vladimir Putin of Russia as a dictator?
No, because if you look back in history, right? Like they be saying they junk about Kim Jong-un, right?
Okay.
What other stuff have Kim Jong-un invaded? Like they talk all this stuff about these other so-called dictators, but they have yet to go off and go in other people's country or nothing. They ain't been at war. The United States is paying these folks out to be the bad guy. You gotta look at it. We're only looking at the our media. We're not looking around the world media what's going on. Because it's more. Go ahead, Liv.
So are you suggesting that it is the United States that is painting Russia and Vladimir Putin as a bad guy, and he really is not one?
No.
What do you?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But I'm looking at it like this: like you keep when you bring people on here and you ask people the question, like, "Hey, what have Trump? You know, what did Trump?" Everybody question to you. They'll never give you like his policies and nothing. They'll talk about how he is. Like, oh, well, Trump is a bad guy. Trump, he got a whoop. What have his policy did? Like, I stay in Atlanta, Georgia. We don't got it good here. They taking away jobs from us. They doing so much to us where they trying to railroad us and give all the migrants these jobs.
So let me make sure I get a few things clear. Okay, so you don't see, if you suggest that it is America that is portraying Putin as a bad guy and he's not really a bad guy. Now, I just had a call on from Greenland. He's certainly closer to the region than you and I are. Why is it that so many countries in the region believe that Russia's a bad guy? Are they just all being duped by the United States?
They get paid off.
Paid off by who?
Huh?
Paid off by who?
Paid off. You got to realize this stuff. The people who work closely, because you got to look at the United States work closely with Germany. All these states that done did something, all these bad states, right? We work closely with these. The reason why we got their manufacturers here and all that stuff like that, we do business with the criminals, the United States.
Wait, so you believe, because every NATO member state out there believes Russia is a bad guy. You believe they're all being paid off?
Yeah, because you got to think about it. When Trump said, why is NATO still here, right? Because we paying NATO. NATO, they supposed to be for the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union been dismantled for over years. It was for the Soviet Union, right?
Okay.
And Russia them haven't did nothing to nobody till they did their thing in I think Georgia.
Where is the evidence that America is paying off all of the members of NATO? Even Trump isn't claiming that.
All right. If you go search, I think they got them in their filing. Well, we pay them every month. We pay every country every month.
Where are you hearing this from?
It's online. It's searchable. All this stuff searchable. Okay. And you can go search Google and go search how much money we fund all these other countries.
Wow.
We paying all other countries.
Okay, so we're paying the UK, we're paying France and Germany. We're just giving them money. What is the purpose of? Why are we giving them money?
I don't know, the bells are our money, because you got to think about it. All right, NASA take $3.some billion from us, and they only give us 3D images, right?
Okay.
So they're raking money from us, so we don't know what is money getting allocated and going to. Just like the money that's going to Ukraine, we don't know where that money getting allocated and going to. They keep saying the money lost.
So would you be in favor of us, ceasing any money going to the Ukraine or military assistance? What do you think? What do you think would happen if we no longer assisted the Ukraine in any way?
Russia gonna finish doing the job, whether we aided them or not. Russia's still winning.
You okay with that? You're okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The same thing with the other little conflict that's going on. Am I okay with that? They allowing it.
Yeah. So, but you suggested that Putin is not a bad guy, and we're the ones painting him that way. If he's not a bad guy, why did he invade a nation?
I mean, I sat down and watched the whole man speak or whatever that. I mean, I sat down and watched him speak with him and Carl Tuckerson, and people labeling Carl Tuckerson as a traitor because he went over there and spoke to this man.
No, you're talking about Tucker Carlson. But what I'm asking is, why did Putin invade the Ukraine if he's not a bad guy? You said he's not a dictator.
The United States don't got other stuff inside the Ukraine that they're not telling us about. It's other stuff that's sitting inside it that's bad for Russia. You see what I'm saying? We don't know what's actually going over there in Ukraine. That's why I said you don't know if it's nuclear powers, whether it's trafficking centers or anything that's over there that's bad for humanity. That's why we don't know the full fledged of why Russia actually going over there. People say, oh well, this just take over this land. No, it's a purpose to everything, and we only looking at it from one side of view.
But wait a minute, if we don't know why Russia is invading the Ukraine, why do we assume what they're doing is justified? Maybe they're invading the Ukraine because they just want to conquer another nation. After all, we don't know why they're doing it.
But they haven't really been doing nothing like that during the years. That's what I'm saying. The United States been in everybody's country. I'm talking about like black they'll send they best units. Like, okay, the thing that happened in Libya, the thing that happened in the Congos, the stuff that like we sending people unexpected that we don't even know about. Like I have to go read about this in other people's news to know that the Americans done came over and did something.
So at the end of the day, you believe America is an untrustworthy country. You're speaking pretty negatively of America. How do you respond to folks?
It's not America, it's the government. Don't listen. It's like what Trump kept saying, I'm trying to raid the swamp out, right? It's people that's inside of our government that's actually taking bribery from others, like doing treason with other companies and stuff like that. They're taking money and using these policies to go around because that's how our policies get enforced because other people paying these folks to do this.
Okay, so you believe that it is the American government that is corrupt and untrustworthy?
Yes.
Okay. And do you see any untrustworthiness coming out of Russia, or do you believe they're more of a trustworthy country than America?
I mean, so you looking at it towards what's going on right now. But I look at it as a history going on. I never looked at because back then when World War II happened, Russia helped us to stop.
So I get your point, but that's what I'm asking you. So you believe that on a global scale, the United States, our government is more of a bad guy than Russia?
Yes.
All right.
We're more of a fool than anybody else. Yes.
Wow. How do you feel about living in this country? Do you feel like you really? I mean, do you feel like you're living under a corrupt regime in this country? If our government is one of the worst on the global scale,
they're my home. Everybody else, the outside. This is my home. Everybody else, the outside. This our home. Let's say that this our home. Everybody else, the outside. So the laws that they're making in here, it do affect us. And like I'm saying.
Okay, I do have to move it on, but real quick before I let you go, how do you respond to folks in the comments, for instance, suggesting that perhaps you need to relocate to Russia then?
You European or whatever that case may be, bro, I'm from here. I'm native to here. I'm original to here. Like I said, our history taught us wrong. Everything taught us wrong. So you can't tell me to move no place that you ain't came from.
All right. All law applies. This is our first time speaking.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I love looking at your live. You go in, you ain't even biased. I done went into Democrat live. I done went into Republican live. You give both parties a chance to actually talk and speak their piece. Well, and I thank you for that. And keep up the great work.
Thank you. Don't be a stranger. The door is always open to you. Moving the program on, Name Barbara certainly wanted to thank you for the super chat. What he was saying is, I blame the internet for this guy made information so readily available, yet the ability to comprehend it is non-existent. Yikes. Suggesting that, listen, the internet is giving us a hell of a lot of information at our fingertips, but in his analyzation of my last caller, he don't necessarily comprehend any of it. So we want to go back to the box, and I see folks on YouTube saying, or TikTok rather, saying bingo. Actually agreeing with him exactly. Real quick, stop using the taxpayers' money as the world's ATM. Stop using our military as world's police. I'll go back to the box real quick, and I will select, because I want to respond to that comment. Stop using the taxpayers' money as the world's ATM. Stop using our military as the world's police. Before I go to that, I'm going to ask you folks on TikTok to tap the screen. It helps out the algorithm. 800 plus of you in here. Certainly you can get the likes up to around 22,000. It helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. Program is always, will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety, but liberals are welcome as well. You know we run an uncensored program. Certainly with my YouTubers, I would ask that you do the same. Feel free to smash that like button. If you will, a subscription would be grateful. Now, or greatly appreciated. Now, so stop using the taxpayers' money as the world's ATM. Stop using our military as the world's police. What I don't comprehend is this. Most of the folks saying that do lean right. The left overwhelmingly believes we should continue helping out the Ukrainians, and they want to help out the Palestinians as well. Most folks on the right are like, look, America first, take care of America, do what's best here at home. But oddly enough, most of the folks that lean right, that are at least my age or maybe a few years younger, they were all supporters of George W. Bush. So a lot of this stuff that they're saying that we do, getting involved in overseas conflicts and things like that, they were the ones that elected the guy who was known for doing it. Talking about President Bush, 20-year war. So I don't quite get that, but I do give Trump credit for saying that getting involved in the Iraq war was the dumbest mistake in U.S. history. He was doing that to attack Jeb Bush back in 2015. But make no mistake about it, a lot of the folks on the right talking about we need to stop getting involved in overseas incidents were big supporters of George W. Bush. He didn't get elected by liberals. We know that. All right, going back to the box, and they don't support social programs. That is true. The left are brainwashed, so they don't know. Brainwashed how? By who? Going straight to the box, everyone thinks everyone else is brainwashed. That's a very common response. Joey, bag of donuts. Good afternoon and welcome to the program. Now, Trump's 88 charges, I believe if we're correct, yet he's still highly competitive against President Biden, beating him in a lot of the polls. Joey, bag of donuts, what say you?
Hey, Tim.
Hey.
The reason Trump is beating Biden, and I'm not particularly a Trump supporter. I did vote for him, but I'm not a supporter. He's beating Biden because of the economy. Bill Clinton said, it's the economy, stupid. All of these illegals coming in, they're not coming after my jobs. They're not coming after my kids' jobs. Okay? Like the industries that we're in, they're not competing for those jobs. They're competing for our already minority population's jobs.
So you're suggesting that. So you're suggesting that what's going on at the border under the Biden administration is really harmful to minorities with all these folks coming in.
Don't you think so? Because they'll work for a little bit less,
yeah,
and they won't argue because they're afraid that they'll get sent back.
Yeah.
Now, you got an American teenager going to McDonald's and asking for $20 an hour, and the teenager's going to give the supervisory staff lip every now and then, or you got this guy who just came from a country where $20 is all they made in a year or a month.
Yeah.
Who are they going to hire?
Well, but I agree with you 100%. But if that's the case, maybe our problem is not just Biden and the border. It might be big business in America because this can't happen unless.
It is.
So should we regulate big business?
I agree with you.
So
The worst thing that ever happened to the American worker is the minimum wage. And we should regulate business a little bit more.
wait a minute. Hold on, hang on, hold on. You said the worst thing that's happened to the American worker is the minimum wage. Explain what you mean.
I was just going to because I saw the look on your face.
Yes.
Before the minimum wage came in, everybody negotiated their wage. I'm a business owner. I had a young man come in. I needed a data entry clerk and somebody to answer phones.
Okay.
He interviewed good. I was willing to pay him $12 an hour. I asked him what his salary expectations were, and he told me, "Well, I work at Wendy's. I get $7.50 an hour. I can do it for $7.50." I told him, I said, "Dude, you don't value yourself enough to work for me. I'm willing to start you out at $12 an hour, but you don't value yourself enough."
Wait a minute. You want
our wages.
You want high school kids flipping burgers to have the power of negotiation when they go work for a job?
How many times do you go to McDonald's and the people that are there working are high school kids? Think about it, Tim. Think about it. They're not high school kids.
Yeah, but let's take your example. You're talking about a big business owner that's likely to be far more intelligent than a worker. You would exploit the hell out of people if they had to negotiate their wage. It would be easy to find folks who may be partially disabled, not fully there mentally. You could exploit a bunch of people doing that.
You're not going to get somebody that's partially disabled to operate a forklift. You're not going to get somebody that's partially disabled to go into an Amazon warehouse and pick cases.
I disagree. You could get somebody with Down syndrome or something to do jobs. Like you can get partially disabled people that may not be there mentally, but is capable of putting in a hard day's work, but it's just not a very bright person. You could exploit people like that all day.
If you had a training wage or an entry level wage where they could pay you the $15 an hour for the first year, but after the first year they got to pay you $20 an hour.
So that's government. That's government intervention.
Okay.
Okay.
The minimum wage was put in because employers were taking advantage of the apprentice system, because people would come in as an apprentice. I think what do we call them now? I don't know the word off the top of my head, but people would come in and they would work for pennies on the dollar,
right,
to learn that trade, and then they would go and find a job that would pay them more. Yeah. Well, they brought in the minimum wage because employers kept extending the apprentice programs longer and longer and longer.
I hear you.
The government to say, you can't do this anymore. You got to pay. Everything runs its course.
Okay. Well, I disagree with your opening statement. Getting rid of the minimum wage, I don't think would be good for workers at all. I mean, even now with a minimum wage, you still can negotiate your salary. So you don't need to get rid of it. If you go work as a burger flipper or as a factory worker or a forklift driver, like you said, and they're offering you $12 an hour and you think you're worth 13, you still can negotiate that. You don't need to have them remove minimum wage to do that.
But people don't negotiate their wage. They take what the employer is offering.
Right.
Very few people will say, okay, I will come to work for you, but I need $21 an hour. I had a driver come to work for me, and I was offering a competitive wage, but we didn't offer benefits. So he said, well, okay, you're offering, at the time, I think it was 35 cents a mile, but I need benefits for my kids, so I need 40 cents a mile so that I can pay for insurance for my kids. Yeah. I gave him the 40 cents a mile because I didn't have to pay for it.
Here's the issue. I do got to move it on, but here's the issue I have. If people are not negotiating their wage now, they're not going to negotiate their wage if you remove the minimum wage either. They're going to just show up and take what the boss is offering. And it's going to be pretty damn low. If you remove the minimum wage, people are going to tell the employees, I'm offering $3 an hour, take it or leave it. And folks who are not hardcore go-getters are going to take the money. It would not be hard to find people to exploit. I got to move it on, though.
I don't think that would be the case, because the lower the employer tried to go, the less of a quality labor force he would find.
And
I want to say one other thing about your friend from Greenland.
Real quick.
Okay? Real quick. Margaret Thatcher said that socialism is fine until you run out of other people's money. Your friend from Greenland, in the beginning of his call, told you, why do Americans think that nothing happens in the world without them? And then later he said that Trump did not act like a world leader. He needed to act as the leader of the free world. Is he the leader of the free world, or are Americans just overstating their prominence? Okay? We had the Budapest Accord in the 90s with Russia. When the Soviet Union fell, Ukraine had nuclear weapons. In the 90s, we agreed.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. So what's the point?
To Russia.
Yeah, I know. So what's the point? I got to move it on.
Okay, we agreed that Ukraine would return those weapons to Russia. We would protect Ukraine, but Ukraine would be a buffer between NATO and Russia. When people started talking about putting Ukraine into NATO, you're putting U.S. troops on the Soviet border. What did we do when Khrushchev tried to put missiles in Cuba? Okay, I'll respond to that on the other side. Because I do got to move it on, but I will respond to what you just said. Joey, okay. Appreciate it. And what he is saying, and I've brought this up before, that, we would not be a fan of having the Soviet Union, become friends with Canada or Mexico, where you would have Soviet troops right on our border in Toronto or maybe in Tijuana. But talking about joining NATO, which is what he's saying, that, Russia was promised that the Ukraine would not become a member of NATO, and then folks started flirting with putting Ukraine as a member of NATO. If it had happened in NATO, like Sweden, Finland was officially a member of NATO, I would, for the most part, agree with my last caller. But you can't invade a nation because they are talking about doing something. It hasn't happened. It may be talking about it with somebody who has no chance of ever doing it. You can't invade a nation because of what they're talking about. So that's where I kind of disagree with that. And by the way, this isn't a current event with Russia and the Ukraine. They took Georgia in 2008, Crimea in 2014. They've been chipping at that nation for quite a while. But you can't invade somebody because of what they're talking about. That's a bit overzealous. We can't entertain that. Going back to the box, though, and I do appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Nearly 1,000 of you in here. Go ahead and get your boy up to 40,000. YouTubers, thank you for tapping that like button. You know how we do it. RB. Good afternoon, RB. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're talking about Trump facing, 88 charges, yet still doing better than Biden in most polls. How does that work?
Well, the way I look at it is that if it was Republicans and Democrats that were waging all these accounts against them, then I would be a little bit more inclined to believe that it's not a witch hunt. But if you look at all the donors to all the prosecutors, they're all Democrat donors.
So let me make sure I get that clear. So you're saying because it's mostly liberals, you see it kind of flaky, but if it was bipartisan, making accusations against Trump, you would be more willing to entertain it.
Exactly, because when you see that it's one side just going straight after him, it's sort of like having 99 pit bulls, you know, and then you set one sheep.
Yeah, thank you, DJ. Well, wait, let me interrupt you. And DJ Julio, thank you for the hat and mustache. Let me interrupt. If you saying you could give it more credence if it had a bipartisan effort, Trump said he won the election by a landslide. There is certainly a bipartisan group saying that that's an absolute lie, including most of his administration. Do you believe that when they say he's lying about winning the election by a landslide, that they're telling the truth?
Well, I look at it this way. There was a political indicator that was like 99% accurate that said that Trump should easily win this election. And then after the first day, he was winning the election. And then after all these, we got to count ballots for 2 more weeks. And then it seems like within that 2 weeks, all those votes that came in were all Biden votes. And then Biden...
But wait a minute, you just said if Republicans and Democrats were accusing him, you'd be more likely to believe it. Republicans and Democrats are accusing Trump of suggesting Trump lost in the election. Now you don't believe them.
I think that he could have lost the election, but I was watching the election night, and it just seemed like Trump had it in a landslide, and then as they prolonged the vote, and then where that one said, we're gonna go to sleep tonight, and we're gonna start counting tomorrow. Well, I was an election judge, and you don't do that. There is no going home away from the votes. You stay until it's done. There is no going home, and that was very suspicious.
Okay, but there's a difference between suspicion and Trump won by a landslide. Where does that come from, that he won by a landslide?
Well, if he didn't win by a landslide, I at least believe he won. Okay, forget the landslide part. He won, but the Democrats just had to do 1,000 cuts and few little tiny counties here and little few counties there to sway the overall election. They didn't do it completely obvious.
So let me
very overtly.
I get your point about the Democrats, but any idea why his own vice president, who would have remained second in charge of this country for another 4 years, is also saying he lost? You don't see Mike Pence as a Democrat, do you?
No, I think that one thing I like about Mike Pence, was that he leveled out Trump, because I think Pence is a very credible person. And I think that Pence at the time was doing what he thought was right, and to just shut the election down.
That ain't what, but that's not what I'm talking about. Right now to this, that's not what I'm talking about though. Right now to this day, Mike Pence is still saying Trump lost. Why is he doing that?
Well, then he believed he lost. But I can't go into the mind of Mike Pence, but I was there election night. I saw that Trump was completely winning, dominating, and then as the next day and the next day and the next day came in, and then some of them were a month later, before we even found out who won counties. That's completely unheard of.
So
we don't know who won the election within the first.
So in regards to what you're pointing out, any idea why none of the governors of any of these states are saying that Trump won, whether it's the Pennsylvania, whether it's some of these governors are Republican, like Governor Kemp in Georgia. They're all saying he lost too. Why is that?
Well, let's just, we'll lick our wounds, because we learned that, during COVID, the Democrats did a lot of
Well, hold on, RB. I get that you're. Wait, hold on, hang on, because you're continuing. You're talking about Democrats, but I'm asking you why Republicans are saying things. For instance, Attorney General Barr, Trump's top cop, he investigated Ruby Freeman. He investigated Dominion. He's coming back and saying Trump lost. Why would he say that?
Well, Barr's a good man, but you just gotta. I can't go into the mind of the different people and what their motivations are. I just know that moving forward, we're not going to have these election shenanigans where they're stuffing ballot boxes and people are signing up dead people and voting in 2 or 3 different states. They'll get 2 or 3 different driver's licenses and vote in 3 different states. So
yeah. So let me
be cleared up by this.
So let me ask you this question, and I understand
irregularities.
Yeah, let me ask you this question. I understand you do believe Trump won, and you're not the only one. There's a lot of folks that believe what you believe as well. You're certainly entitled to that opinion. But let's say, for instance, for shits and giggles, I do understand what you believe. Let's say, for shits and giggles, Trump actually lost. The question I want to ask is, who could tell you Trump lost, and you would actually believe it?
Jesus, definitely.
Jesus? Did you say Jesus Christ?
Yeah, if he would just answer me in a prayer, very loudly, a cloud with a thundering voice, that would help.
Give me a human being that's actually walking on earth.
Okay.
And Jesus, that was funny though. That was really funny. Keep going.
I don't know. I think some of the Joe Rogan, if he actually, he interviews a lot of people, and who's the English guy? I don't know what his name is.
Simon Cowell, or what is the guy from CNN? I think I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his...
No, not CNN. I'm talking about the comedian guy. That's.
Oh, you're talking about Katy Perry's ex-husband. What is? I can't think of it. Yeah, I can't think of his name either. You're going to forego folks like Attorney General Barr, who has the power to subpoena to actually do investigations, but you'll take the word of Joe Rogan over him?
The point I'm making is that you get the political people, you don't know where, because they're politicians, you don't know what their political motivations are for the things they do, Like Trump said, when he first was in office, he had a whole bunch of people in his administration that he didn't know, and it worked against his administration.
Right.
They weren't doing what he wanted. He said this time, he knows who the weak Republicans are. He knows who the strong ones are. He knows who the rhinos are, and he knows who the mover and shakers are. He said he'll build a lot stronger administration this time, and I believe that because
how can he do that? I mean,
he's a politician now. He was a businessman.
Okay.
Now he's a politician. He knows who the movers and shakers are, and he can build a stronger administration.
Okay, but so to make sure I get clarity, what you're saying though is if for some reason Trump did lose the election, there is nobody in Washington that could tell you and you'd actually believe him. You're pointing to Russell Brand and Joe Rogan, but there's nobody in Washington that can tell you.
Man, it's just the problem we had, it scared me from the last election was that there's underhanded things can done. I thought we had a pretty secure election, but I found out that, political wrangling can happen and ballots can be stuffed and counties can be swayed. And, that kind of shook my, foundation in the voting process. And I'm trying to, if everything was completely fair, then I would trust it. I mean, if we had a checks and balance, like paper ballots with redundancies that we could check, for dead people and people that are out of county and people that are.
How do you feel and I see name Barbara on the super chat says Joe Rogan and Russell Brand were flat earthers. Yikes. How do you feel? Thank you, Barbara, for that super chat. How do you feel, because you're mentioning dead people voting and all of this stuff, How do you feel about the fact that so many folks working for the Trump administration has pled guilty to trying to pose as fake electors? Do you think there was any cheating in favor of Trump?
Well, let's just say that it all goes back to the people who are attack dogging are Democrats going after anybody who challenged the authority of Biden, you know.
Okay. I don't know if oh man, like I said, folks, this is a uncensored program, but I can't control the TikTok gods. For some reason, my last caller was taken down. Appeal that. I don't think that was a legitimate strike, but you're welcome back on the program anytime, R&B. I hate that. And I see R&B in the comments. I see you said you got bumped. I don't listen. You know we run an uncensored program, so there's going to be opinions you favor and others you think are ridiculous. But we do believe in free speech, and we do believe that everyone should be allowed to speak. So sometimes that happens, but it'll never, ever happen from yours truly. Real quick in the comments, it wasn't you, it was a triggered Democrat. Says, well, if it happened at the hands of someone, it would be a Democrat. Going in the box, though, and I do appreciate you coming in, R&B. You're always welcome back. We'll go straight to DJ Julio, of course. Good afternoon, Julio. We're asking that question, why is Trump doing so much better in the polls compared to Biden? I don't know what happened to my guess. We'll try it again. Viago Donnie Jr., good afternoon, if the box allows you in. Can you hear me? Donnie Jr., are you there? Okay, sounds like my guest is actually driving. So thank you for the confetti. Didn't see whose name that was, but certainly thank you for that. C. Osby, Jesus took him down. Jesus took my last caller down. He was just giving Jesus credit that if anybody could tell him Trump lost and he would believe him, it would be Jesus. Why would I don't even want to go there with that. Nate McAllister. Wow, you guys are driving a hard bargain today. Good afternoon, Nate. Jinx, thank you.
Man, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm in the trenches today. Why is Trump doing so much better than Biden in the polls, at least, even though he's dealing with like 88 charges?
I just think it's been clear that his base doesn't care about the charges. It's not like it's new that he's been a terrible person. And nothing has really changed since then. And if you voted for him before, the problem is that Biden's inheriting an economy that is absolutely just in a terrible place globally. And there's people that are triggered by their emotions, which are, powered by Fox News, Newsmax, and a lot of TikTok people that are just talking crap.
But you suggested that Trump has always been a quote unquote terrible person. You believe Trump is a terrible person?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a cheater. He is a not convicted criminal, but in civil trial, he's been found in sexual assault. He is, he's, like I said, he's cheated on his wife. He's cheated on his businesses. He has tons of businesses, tons of money. Just an absolute, he's a bully, even just from the most basic stuff. My problem with Trump, I'm a Democrat now, but I was raised super Republican. I didn't even vote for Obama, and that's why I'm embarrassed by that now. But my thing with Trump is you have to look at the president as the person who's kind of manning the country in terms of setting the bar for our ethics and morality.
Okay.
I would have voted for someone like John McCain because I don't like his views, but he was somebody who I believed was full of integrity. And he actually cared about the country. And I have young kids, and I've had Trump on TV, and I'm like, I almost feel like I need to mute him. When he talks about stuff, I'm like, this guy sounds hateful. When he talks about migrants, and when he talks all this fear-mongering, it's tough to watch. And my thing is, we've got 350+ million people in this country, and these two geriatrics are the best we can get.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, people can talk about Biden being old, but if you watch the State of the Union, he's clearly got his wits about him. I hate that he's so old because it's just not, you can't trust that within 4 years he's not going to totally deteriorate. Yeah. I mean, that stuff happens fast.
So
Biden, but Trump's an existential threat to democracy.
how do you see? Wow, that's strong. What about Trump makes you think he's a threat to democracy?
January 6th. I mean, and then he's also said that he's going to be a dictator from day one. Just everything about him, he's completely for himself. He can be bought right now. He's got so many legal fees to pay. Anyone who's worried, he's talking about draining the swamp, right? But that man is the definition of the swamp. Everybody's like, oh, politicians are so corrupt. Like, man, CEOs are corrupt just as much. And you got Trump coming in, who's got into politics as a business. Nobody has ever grifted harder in politics. When was the last time you saw political merch? It's crazy the amount of merch you see. I was in Florida last month. They have Trump stores, man. I think half these people don't even like Trump. I think they're just like grifting and think it's hilarious. It's sad because it's like, man, at some point we've got people that are selling out like that. When it's like, I'm worried about the country, and not just the fact. Like, I don't think one president can do enough to really screw us one way or another. There's a lot of checks and balances.
Well, in the comments, you mentioned the political merch, and that is hilarious. But in the comments, folks are saying that's smart business. He's a businessman. He's cashing like the shoes and things like that. He is cashing in on that.
Right, but I thought we wanted someone who's going to be a good president. I thought his time as a good businessman was over. It is a good business if you're just firing people up about lies and then getting them all riled. There's a difference between making money and having good business. And like I said, I think it comes back to ethics and morality. And that man is so devoid of any of that. And I don't even feel like if I need to give examples, I think that's wild. Like, anyone that watches, except for that last guy who needs Jesus to tell him what's right and wrong, and Joe Rogan and Russell Brand, who are Joe Rogan, by the way, Joe Rogan has even said that Trump was the king for the idiots when he was president. And it's true, they would rather have a king than a president. They love him so much. It's a cult, man. It's become a cult, and it's upsetting. I will vote for a Republican if I can get another option. I'm a Democrat. I can see both sides to a lot of issues, but right now the problem is that Trump should never have even had a chance to come back after January 6th.
Wow.
I thought it was over.
But what about the notion that he told those folks to go there peacefully and they acted like a fool on their own? Whereas he suggested we're going to go to the Capitol building, but do it peacefully.
He's notorious for plausible deniability. He'll do stuff that clearly he knows what's going to happen. He waited until 4 hours and to say something, and not only that, but when he did say something, they had to keep editing it because he couldn't with Trump. His only thing he cares about is loyalty. Those people there were lunatics. He wouldn't pee on them if they were on fire.
Damn.
But he doesn't like those people. He would never eat with those people. But if you support him, he loves you in the same.
I gotta disagree. I gotta disagree that he wouldn't pee on their face and he wouldn't eat with them. He did a song with him and is suggesting he'd pardon him and get him out of jail.
Pandering, man. It's pandering for votes. He's not just trying to get those people. He's trying to pander because he knows that the Republicans love it. They love talking about January 6th being an inside job and all this other stuff. It's crazy. He's not doing that for anyone but himself. Anything that he does, and I try not to be dramatic, like until recently, like I don't like being like, oh, all Republicans, all this, all that, they're evil. I don't like that because I don't think it's fair because I think both sides have their own reasonings, their own why they've gotten to where they've gotten. But with him, man, it is just genuinely, I see him, I'm like, you're probably one of the worst, most immoral people, not immoral, he knows what he's doing, that I've ever seen. And not only that, but like, I've got kids that are watching, and we've all got young kids that are watching, and this is what they think a good man is. Like you had kind of mentioned, isn't that good business? I can't believe that we have to even debate that. No, making money is not good business. Grifting to make money is bad business.
But what about, okay, let's talk about some of his greatest hits. What about the fact that many folks believe the economy was far better under Trump than Biden? We didn't have all the global conflicts. We all loved $2 gas. Grocery bills were affordable. You don't give him credit for any of that?
I didn't say I didn't give him credit for any of that. My problem is, first of all, the economy was not this bad.
My caller may have a call. We'll give him a second. He's still there.
Hey, I'm still there.
Go ahead.
My bad. No, I'm not. That's the thing. Is like for me, I'm the type of person. I'll give credit where credit's due. Absolutely. I do appreciate that. Honestly, I didn't vote for him, but when he got elected, I was like, you know what? This might be good. Sometimes you need something really crazy to see so that we can get a gauge of like where we need to be. maybe there is a balance. I'm like, I think we maybe overcorrected. Like we were so we got so tired of politicians that it was time to see what else we could get.
So, but what about it? What about his handling of the border compared to Biden's? You think Biden is doing a good job with the border?
I think we all need to take a community trip down to the border and go and actually look at this border and look at what's different. What policies has Biden done that everybody's so mad about besides not letting kids be separated from their parents?
Well, I can tell you, I can answer that. I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Trump had it where you had to remain in Mexico to appeal for asylum. Biden rescinded that and allowed you to come in this country and do it, which means you could stay here while you're waiting for your case to come up, giving you time to, basically blend in with the countryside and disappear. That didn't exist under Trump.
But can you just walk into the country?
I
can see why there's arguments for both of those sides.
Yeah, well, you can.
I don't.
Yeah, you can't just walk into the country, but if you can walk right up to somebody and say, I want to plead asylum, it's essentially doing the same thing, is it not?
It's not. I went to Canada last month, and it's hard to get across the border, man. Like even going to Canada, like it's not as simple as we have a lot of resources down there. And I think Fox News paints this picture that no one's seen. Nobody's been to the border. Have you been to the border?
Well, people have been to the border. People have been to the border, but the border's going to look.
But then let's also talk about since we're on the border. I love to talk to you, by the way. Thank you for having me on.
You're good.
What happened? Like, why do we just allow Trump to talk about his whole thing was the wall, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. He starts this wall. Mexico's going to pay for it, right? Mexico didn't pay for anything. But
you know that was not the plan. The plan was to correct our unfair trade imbalance with Mexico and use the money we would save to put the wall. That's what he meant. What he said was ridiculous, but what he meant, a lot of folks understood, is that we're going to profit by correcting the trade imbalance and use that to build a wall.
That is not how he said it.
No, he didn't say it.
I think maybe later on he can do it. Again, he's the king of plausible deniability. He can say these little things and then say, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that."
Yeah.
I'll give you that though. If you think that's what he meant, and maybe I don't think he's an idiot, which is part of why I'm so disturbed by him because I know he knows better, and I think that he's a narcissist. But like you said, the fact was he said even if he didn't mean it like that, and he did mean through our trade, nobody paid for it. Nothing happened like that.
It didn't. Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it did not happen, regardless of what he.
And it was his biggest point, was it not?
Yeah, it was.
It's what got his people riled up.
Well,
lock her up. And it's so
yeah, his biggest
his political persecution.
Yeah, his biggest promises are building a wall, locking up Hillary Clinton, and repealing and replacing Obamacare. Those were his signature promises. So, I do got to move it on, though, Nate. Been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Absolute. Looking in the comments, Trump did not close the border. Obama closed the border, and Trump continued those policies and made worse policies. America don't seem to see it that way, but okay, appreciate it. Obamacare is still not gone. That is true. Trump tried to repeal and replace Obamacare as he promised, and John McCain, senator of Arizona, gave him thumbs down and stopped him from doing it. But he did try to do that. Real quick in the comments, America cannot fight on all fronts. True. That is true. But America likes to get involved in overseas conflicts because we make a lot of money from that. I'll tell you it is before we move on, and I do appreciate folks that are tapping the screen on TikTok. We could be around 70,000 likes if over 900 of you folks certainly showed your boy some love. We run an uncensored program. In regards to America cannot fight on all fronts. We can't be involved in overseas conflicts. I just want to ask you folks, if we took the advice, particularly of Trump, my beloved MAGA, and got out of overseas conflicts and focused on Americans here at home, do you think the quality of life here would still be what it is today? We pay less for fuel, for instance, than virtually any other country in the free world. You should see, if you're complaining about fuel prices under Biden, you should see what they're paying in Europe. per liter, 3 liters or whatever, equaling a gallon or whatever. We pay less. In fact, virtually every damn thing you get here seems to be cheaper than it is in most of the free world. If we got out of other folks' business, where we no longer control trade, the US dollar was not the standard, all of that, we just focused on here at home, do you think we would still live this good? I tend to disagree. I don't think so. So at the end of the day, I believe this could be a case where if we get Trump promising to get out of overseas and overseas conflicts and things like that, the elite in this country, including the politicians, too many folks are making a mint being involved in overseas conflicts. I mean, how many countries buy weapons from the United States? How much money do we make getting involved in these conflicts? We don't just send weapons to the Ukraine. We can take footage of what they're doing and then show that to customers. See, I know this missile works. Look at all these Russians that died because of it. We're making money from that stuff. We're not just, there's a reason why we're doing it. It is not just out of the kindness of our heart. I do believe if we got out of overseas conflicts, we would suffer here at home. And folks, you're talking about businessmen, successful people in this country, they wouldn't want you to do that because they're making a killing off of this shit. Looking in the comments, real quick here, I do appreciate that. Exactly. Most of the Ukraine money is going into our own pockets, says Nate. I believe that. I do believe. Remember Scott Gray with the Teddy? Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your generosity. Thank you. Remember Halliburton under Dick Cheney? That's the stuff we're talking about. These contracting Blackwater under Hillary Clinton, General Dynamics and all these. The folks in this country are making a killing off of war. A killing off of getting involved in overseas conflicts. You're telling me we want out? Right now, with the famine that is happening in Gaza, and I'm saying famine, they're getting to the point where they're starting to starve to death. We have ships heading over there where we're going to literally build a port because the airdrops are not sufficient. They can't keep up with the demand for supplies and food. So we're going to send what they are similar to barges, these long barges that carry shipping containers. They'll connect several of them end to end, make a long ass pier, ram that into the shore, and that is how they're going to bring supplies and food to members or citizens of Gaza, to the Palestinians. You don't think all of that, you don't think American companies are going to make a fortune doing that? The ships, the supplies, the food, they're going to get government contracts for that. If you get out of overseas involvement, whatever company that is making they don't make any money anymore. There's going to be a whole lot of complaining in this country if we re-elect Trump and he gets us out of overseas issues. A lot of folks will complain that are making a killing. So I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think it'll ever happen. We make a lot of money getting involved in other people's shit. You ever see Nicolas Cage, Lord of War? Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. We try with the Warrior for Trump. Just a minute to speak to. Good afternoon, Warrior.
How you doing?
Doing good. Do you favor getting us out of all overseas incidents and involvement?
Yeah, that stuff, it only enriches the bureaucrats, people like Blackwater, people like the military-industrial complex. It doesn't help anyone. And this stuff is evil. It's like when you're creating war for profit and you're washing money through what the CIA is doing in Ukraine, stuff is just not okay.
Yeah, but when you say creating war for profit, there are a lot of Americans that work at General Dynamics or Lockheed or Boeing. Americans, those are American jobs you're going to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. You're going to have to get your blood money somewhere else. If you're making $1 million making drones to target people, we can make jobs into hunting down illegal immigrants. We can making jobs into building a border wall.
Whoa. You said we could make jobs into hunting illegal immigrants. Explain, what is that? What are you talking about?
Well,
Donald Trump, our leader, president, he wants to, do the largest deportation campaign in American history.
Okay.
These people aren't going to go willingly. They fought hard to get here. They're going to have to be dragged out of here, literally dragged, taken by force, put into a compound and shipped out of here systematically. And that's going to take a lot of money, a lot of resources. It's not going to be cheap.
So what do you want to do? Deputize citizens to go after illegals and find them and round them up for deportation?
Sounds like a start. I would do mandatory e-verify, any sort of cell phone service you would subpoena, just like we did with the January fixers, any sort of credit card information, any sort of cell phone service, internet communications. We're going to pull all that and we're going to get them. Yeah, it's absolutely, the system's already in place. We just have to use these institutions that we have, like the CIA, like the Homeland Security, like our national defense apparatus, instead of starting all these foreign wars and funding all these color revolution states and,
But what is the difference if you deputize Americans to, as you say, round up illegals and drag them out of here? What's the difference between that and the Gestapo? Isn't that exactly what they did? Anne Frank hiding out in the attic until they could drag her. What is the difference?
Well, no, the country belongs to us. So I understand this sounds radical now, but we can't be looking at immigration through the lens of what we see now. We have to look at it and what will we have in 100 years? Hop in a time machine, go into America 100 years from now, and even just try to get out of the time machine, walk around for 30 minutes and try to make it back to the time machine alive. I don't think it's possible. And you do it in 100 years. This country is going to be flooded with people like in Haiti, like in Venezuela, where it's just they do not act like us, and people are going to see it. People aren't going to be ready for a change until they come here and literally start, like I said the other day, consuming people in front of you. Like, that's what it's going to take for people.
Well,
maybe these people don't belong here.
And real quick before we move, I want to ask you another question. And Joan Florenzio says Biden destroying middle class people. Yikes! You think that Biden is destroying middle class? Some folks with his economy may agree with you. I don't know if he's destroying them. That's a pretty harsh word to use, but and thank you for the super chat. So you mentioned, Warrior, that people coming here and consuming others. Now, when we talked the other day, you were mentioning, I think it was Haitian immigrants coming to this country and being cannibals, essentially eating people.
Yeah, we haven't seen any actual evidence of them doing it on U.S. soil, but you can go to Haiti. It's all the rave there. I mean, it's like, what's on the dinner tonight? It's a different body part every day. It's disgusting. And these people, you cannot have that in America. Until it happens in New York City, I really don't think the American people are going to be like, well, we're going to have to get them out of here. And it's sad. But you have to think about, like, what are your grandchildren going to have to endure? Like, you're going to be living in a classroom they're going to be going to a class where they're going to be outnumbered 5-1 by immigrants, diversity, Haitians, and then they're going to be being taught by a black teacher. They're going to be sounding like Stacey Abrams, and they're going to be saying, white people did all this evil stuff to you. Any sort of misfortunes in your life, it's white people to blame. They're going to be outnumbered 5-1.
What's wrong with Stacey Abrams?
Stacey Abrams hates white people. I mean, imagine if your kid went to a class, she was outnumbered 5-1, and they were taught to hate her off the base of her race. Like, that'd be terrible.
So how do you respond to folks who would hear your diatribe and say, based on how you're talking, you sound racist? You're going to have a black teacher, and you sound like you're promoting replacement theory there, Warrior.
Well, it's a fact. I mean, you're talking about minorities and protecting minorities. We need to protect white people. They're 8% of the global population. That's the biggest minority in the world.
We're talking about in this country, though. You think that in this country, in America, white people are endangered?
Yeah, give it 100 years with the way we're going with a lot of these people. If you put a lot of these crazy liberals in power, and they're going to be the ones running the institutions, they're going to be the ones running the FBI. I could only imagine a world where, like, people with this deep anti-white hatred are taking over the country. And
why do you think folks would just hate white people? I mean, why would you just pick this group and just start targeting them?
Well, you already see it in South Africa. They're bringing the people to, They'll go to the farms, drag the wife out of the farm, and then grape the wife in front of the father while he watches.
Why do you think that? But why do you think folks are targeting? Why do you think they're doing it? Is there any? They just hate them for the sake of hating them? I mean, why are they doing that?
Well, there is truth to, like, there is classes do run on racial lines, and you know, like I said, if these Haitians come here, do you think they're just going to be like, well, it's a colorblind meritocracy, and that's just the way it is. That's why we don't have what we have. And no, they're going to be angry, they're going to be pissed, and they're going to be coming for blood, like they do in South Africa. I mean,
now let me make sure, because a lot of folks, this may be the first time they're hearing you. Now, clearly, you think the liberals are destroying this country. Would you identify as MAGA?
Oh yeah, MAGA through and through.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking that is because Snoop in the comments saying this is MAGA. How do you feel about folks who might suggest that if you are MAGA and I'm a minority, I don't want to stand next to you at a rally or in line to vote? How do you respond to folks who have that mindset?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want a country that's less divisive, vote for the Democrat. They have the media apparatus. They have the S&P 500. They have all the celebrities. If you want the status quo, vote for the Democrats. And yeah, sure, I may be a little bit radical, a little bit reactionary, but I'm looking at it a lens through 100 years from now. Immigration now, you could say, well, it's not that bad. You can always move to a whiter neighborhood. You can get away from it. You can avoid them. But it's getting harder, and I could only imagine in a world where you're outnumbered 5-1 in your own country. It's like we're not like the Israelis. We don't have a country we can go run to and call it our homeland and kick everyone out. Like white people, where are they going to go when this country gets taken over?
Well, how about Western Europe? Most of the countries in Western Europe are white. That's where our deity, our creator, meant for you to be. They didn't mean for... Go ahead.
Countries like Ireland, Italy, UK that are already being destroyed. Like, look at Ireland. The classes are already like what I'm describing. You think Ireland, I'm going to go there and find a bunch of Irish? No, I'm going to go and find a majority Muslim population. I'm going to go to the UK. They're going to be doing Islamic prayer in the...
So what do you... So
find people that look like me. Absolutely not.
I do have to move it on, but what are you suggesting? You want to go to a place where it is 100% white?
No. I'm just trying to protect our country. Imagine if black people were going extinct and we were importing all these people to replace the black people. People would be sounding the alarm bells. But when it comes to white people, they go, well, I mean, it's fine when white people are just going to be gone and everyone's going to be a mixed color. And, I mean, I think you can't imagine if you can't take America. America's not just a geographic location. Our culture cannot be, America would not be the same thing if you replaced it with, let's say Haitians or Guatemalans. It wouldn't be the same great country, right?
Would it be the same if you replaced it with Native Americans?
No, Native Americans were barbaric and they were cannibals just as well. Yeah, just like in Haiti.
Okay.
You think Native Americans, these tribes, they called themselves Master Wolf. He's going to build the greatest, most equitable society in the world with skyscrapers, airplanes, the ventilator, the iPhone? Absolutely not. Okay. A lot of these people are walking around drunk. I mean, I'm not.
Okay, listen, as always, you're controversial as hell, but you're welcome on the program. I do got to move it on, but last question. How do you respond to folks who suggest, and I see it in the comments, that what you're saying is the definition of white nationalism? What say you?
Well, I mean, I don't understand, white nationalism has so many definitions, but I just believe in Christian nationalism. I believe in our country's a Christian nation. It belongs to the people.
You mentioned earlier white people need to be protected. Do you think Trump would be a good commander-in-chief to protect white people?
He did say he was going to end all race-based discrimination when it comes to hiring or when it comes to schools or federal funding. I think it's a good start. I don't think he's going to get us to where we want to be, but it's definitely going to get the ball moving in the right direction. I don't think he's not like the super nationalist type, but I'm sure we can get someone in after him who would, it's all about moving the ball down the field. We just want to keep getting the ball moving in the right direction, and eventually you can score that touchdown. It takes a while, but
all right,
you got to get the ball moving down the field.
Well said. All right, warrior for Trump, always controversial, always welcome on the program. I do have to move it on. Talk to you later. All right, you're welcome. Now, understand when I say we run an uncensored program, left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. Damn it, we mean it here. It's not my program. It's not your program. It's our program. Everyone gets to speak. That's how we do it here. I get it. Some folks do not like what they always hear. There are other places you can go on social media where people will speak in a manner you prefer. This is not that place. Many folks would suggest this is not a safe space. We allow everyone to speak. It is a free speech, uncensored program. By the way, tap the screen. 1,100 of you in here or more. Certainly get your boy up to around 85,000. I would appreciate that. On YouTube, we run a simulcast on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. Might be a bit difficult for some after my last caller, but certainly smash that like button. It helps out the algorithm, helps out the program. Get your boy likes up. Good for him, says Baja Tech. My throat hurts from laughing. That was great. Shout out to Tony the Tiger, Gen Xer, friend of the program. Going back to the box, I assume the box is reeling after my last caller. We'll keep it moving with Jen Hex. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Jen Hex. Where are the POC MAGA to defend him? They're all over the comments. Jen Hex, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, so what do you think? Did you hear my last call?
As part of the MAGA group, we do not claim him. Like he has literally lost his ever-loving mind. First off, we are okay with immigration in MAGA. We are not okay with illegal immigration. That is where our lines are drawn. It's breaking the law over being a legal immigrant.
But what about the notion that when you go to vote, or better yet, when you are at a Trump rally, he is there. He is welcome at a Trump rally. You're saying you don't claim him, but he's going to be at the rally right along with you.
Because people don't understand that people like that go both sides of the aisle. You could sit there and literally, as Trump put it, he denounces people that spew white supremacy and stuff like that.
Do you believe my last caller was spewing white supremacy?
I would say more or less he just has a really bad skew on what Trump actually wants to do. Trump doesn't care what color you are. It's more, hey, guess what? Do it the right way, the legal way.
But what about his claims about replacement theory? He believes that whites need to be protected. Now, Trump doesn't Trump kind of says things that, refer to that a little bit? Because he talked about removing everything from affirmative action to, programs that are designed to help minorities. Trump has favored some of that, right?
As far as affirmative action, which people don't seem to understand, affirmative action actually nailed Asian Americans more than it did white Americans. It was because there's literal facts on this that statistically it would stop Asian Americans who were higher on the SATs, the ACTs, getting into colleges compared to somebody of the other minorities that scored lower. That's what happened.
So let me interrupt and ask this, because I get your point on affirmative action, but in the comments someone made a statement and I think it's kind of relevant, because we're talking about the last caller suggesting that replacement theory, and you're suggesting that he's crazy and MAGA does not claim him. When Trump stated that immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country, what was your interpretation of that? What do you think that meant?
If I remember right, during the conversation, he was talking about the ones bringing the drugs in were poisoning the blood of America. If I am 100% correct on the whole conversation, context and all,
okay,
which people don't bring in the context of what he said. They want to run with, it's the immigrants. No, it's what they're bringing in that's poisoning it.
Okay.
That's where that whole thing gets misconstrued.
What about the vermin comment? How did you interpret that?
I personally didn't hear that part of it, so I can't really speak on it.
Okay. So if you could find, by doing a quick Google search or YouTube search, evidence that Trump referred to immigrants as vermin, because I know you said you haven't heard it, but if you did hear it, what do you think that would mean to you? What would that mean to you?
To be honest, I wouldn't agree with it, but as I said, I didn't hear it, so I'd have to go look back and actually see it and actually get the whole context of the conversation and stuff like that to understand who he's talking about and stuff like that. So as I said, I can't really speak on it too much because I don't know.
Okay. And last but not least, another one of his comments where he suggested that they're not sending us their best and brightest. They're sending us their rapists and murderers. I assume some of them are good people.
As far as that goes, to be honest, in the cases of some of the people that we've caught at the border, I could say, yeah, I agree with that to a point.
So you think that the overwhelming majority of these folks coming in are rapists and murderers?
No, I'm just saying that we catch some that are like that. I'm not saying they all are.
Do you think most of the people we catch coming in illegally are rapists and murderers?
I don't know.
Then where do you think he's getting that from? Why is he saying that even if yourself you support him, you're saying I don't know where this? I mean, why do you think he's saying that? I mean, most of the people we catch coming in this country illegally, do you think that they're rapists and murderers?
If I remember right, wasn't that conversation from like 2016?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
He said they're not sending us their best and brightest, they're sending us their rapists and murderers. I assume some of them are good people, as if I'm not really sure if any of them are good people, but I know they're sending us rapists and murderers. So in other words, the whole group of them, the whole lot of them may be rapists and murderers. I gotta assume maybe some of them are good, but the whole lot of them is mostly rapists and murderers.
Yeah, it just comes down to, in the context of some of the conversations, yeah, I can't speak on that. I'd have to go re-listen to the whole speech. But, like, some people have brought up the whole, what was it? They tried construing what he said about MS-13 to meaning all of a group too. So I'm like, I can't sit here and speak on something I don't 100% know, but I can speak on stuff that I've heard people try and run with. And say, oh, he said this about everybody. No, he said it about MS-13, stuff like that. So as I said, I have to go back and re-listen.
Well, yeah, look, the rapist and murderer comment is almost a decade, so you can easily find that. I'm surprised you haven't heard that yet. I mean, that's almost a decade old, like 2015. That comment's pretty old. Are you there? Okay, my guest is on mute. I'll give him a second. Real quick, you are speaking the truth. I don't know if you're talking about me or the caller, but we're moving on. Have you met every single immigrant that comes here to confirm these claims? Yeah, I don't think you'd ever be able to do it if you met they're sending us their rapists and murderers, I assume. If you met every immigrant that came here, some of them are underage. You know they're not rapists and murderers. Some of them are like 2 years old. I guess you could be an MS-13 member at 2. I don't know. What do? You steal somebody else's baby buggy, a baby buggy jacket or something? I don't know. But trafficked and trafficking, says Kelly May. A lot of that, but here's one of the things I don't get. They don't traffic humans for the sake of doing it. They do it to make profit. We're constantly talk about human trafficking south of the border and do little to no mentioning of the customers of the traffickers. Whether we're talking fentanyl, whether we're talking, any type of hard drug, heroin, you guys talking about human trafficking, they don't do this if they didn't have customers. The cartel acknowledges that America is their biggest customer. We continue making it sound like all of these bad people are providing all of these evil services without mentioning there's a buyer out there. It's the American public. If Americans were not involved, because nobody's crying that they were pinned to the ground and had fentanyl forced in their system, they're buying it voluntarily. So I guess I would have to ask the obvious question. If you cut off the southern border, do you believe Americans will stop getting high? Because it is our demand that encourages them to supply it. We make it sound like we're just innocent and they're coming over here and throwing little girls at us and throwing fentanyl at us. Like we're just innocent in this. We're the biggest demand for them to supply it, which is why most of the cartel is in northern Mexico, so they can be close to the source of the people that are buying it. If you put up a wall and you have a population that wants the goods and services that the cartel are providing, you don't think Americans are going to find a way to navigate that? Whether it's politicians turning a blind eye while a shipment comes through the wall, around the wall, under the wall. We have a huge demand for what they're selling over there. Americans helped that shit get here. They're not doing it on their own. I do believe that's a tad unfair to pretend as though the cartels, MS-13, and illegal immigrants are so savvy, they're doing all this on their own. Whether we're talking about illegal products like narcotics and fentanyl, human trafficking, or even illegal immigrants coming here to work, in every case, there are American co-conspirators that want that stuff here. We know there's drug users in America. We know there are men, often, usually men, some of great resources that enjoy the services provided by a human trafficker. And last but not least, how many big businesses have made their fortune off the backs of illegal labor? You're not going to get rid of this by simply building a wall. I know a lot of you folks, particularly my beloved MAGA, may think I'm full of shit, and you're entitled to have that opinion. You know I don't block, ban, or censor anyone. But at the end of the day, there are too many Americans in this country that want this stuff. If you don't address the buyers, getting rid of the sellers is not going to stop the problem. I just don't think it is. Looking in the comments, we'll continue moving. Joe Biden did this. You think Joe Biden, before Joe Biden, we didn't have human trafficking, we didn't have fentanyl. Didn't George Floyd die of fentanyl? Talking to my MAGA, didn't you guys say George Floyd died of fentanyl? Biden wasn't even in office during that. Biden was not even in office. So what do you mean Biden did this? Real quick in the comments, it's just so much worse lately, and we need to get to the root of the problem taken care of. Candace Sanford, is it really worse, or are we focusing more on it? It's kind of like we talk about human trafficking. You think that wasn't happening in the 70s and 80s? Maybe we're focusing more on it because you have a 24-hour news cycle that maybe you didn't have in the past. Is it really happening more, or are we making a bigger deal over it? You didn't have TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and all these other social media platforms where people talked about the same thing over and over again. It just happened. Maybe it was covered on the 10 o'clock news and it was over with. How many articles, stories, live streams have you heard about this illegal immigrant murdering the Georgia nursing student? Came from New York, went down to Georgia, murdered a nursing student. We didn't used to cover one murder like that. That didn't used to get that much coverage. So, yeah, it seems like it's happening more because one murder gets 100,000 stories. It's not that it's happening more, perhaps. Maybe it's being covered and scrutinized more. Going back to the box. Mayo. If the box cooperates, good afternoon, Mayo, if it lets you in. Of course, it's always been there. It's just a million times worse with Biden. Many suggest the same thing. I don't, like I said, I don't know, because Wow. Thank you, Kobe's girl. Appreciate that. Thank you. Good morning to you. Thank you. The box is evidence. We'll get a box a second, but I'll tell you this. I do believe, and maybe I'm wrong, if an illegal immigrant came in this country while Trump was in office and murdered, I don't think Fox News would be blaming it on Trump. I mean, I just think that the way you cover things can make a difference. Kobe's girl with the book, open book. Thank you. Going back to the box. I'm having trouble with the box. We'll try again. Don't know why it does this, but we always had a problem like that. Gerald MC. We'll give it a second to correct itself. And looking on YouTube, the border issue is definitely worse. Yeah, I agree with that. It's being encouraged by the Biden administration at this point. I'll give you that. Certainly reversing Trump's policy. A lot of folks don't see Biden as being worse at the border than Trump. I tend to think he is, for the simple fact of he didn't go down to the border despite a large amount of Americans crying and it was a mess, and then continue suggesting there was no problem. So I'm on your side with that one. Real quick, folks, smash that like button on YouTube. Tap the screen, my TikTok viewers. I'm trying to bring guests up, but the box is not always cooperative. We'll try it one more time with One Deep Fashion. But I don't, one of the things what my guest was talking about, deputizing Americans to round up immigrants under Trump. Now, Trump is promising the largest deportation in history if he's reelected. I don't think there's any other way to do it without what my last guest was suggesting. I do believe that that is one way to successfully get a hell of a lot of people out of here. It will be messy. I do believe folks would die that probably don't need to. But that, and I see in the comments, Kevin O'Leary says, I volunteer. I don't think you'd have a hard time finding a lot of volunteers. You've seen the caravan that went down to Texas last month. But the problem is I do believe that folks would die that don't need to die. Because if you believe they're rapists and murderers, who gives a damn if some of them lose their lives? I think the language will get people killed. I'm having an incredibly difficult time bringing up guests. I don't know what's happening here, but I am trying as we speak. Wait, I don't understand. Is he a Trump supporter? Okay, let me see. Yeah, uniform would be red hats. That's all you need now. Put on the MAGA hat. You're on the in crowd. Really? I had somebody on the program yesterday tell me they identified the red hat with a Klan hood, you know, a KKK hood. I thought that was a bit heavy, but I asked you folks, do you also see the red hat as synonymous with a white hood? And folks were like, yeah, that's pretty harsh. Wow, pretty harsh. Jews say the same thing about the American flag. Elaborate, I don't quite get that one. Once again, the box is problematic. I assure you, I am trying to bring up guests. I'm having a hard time. Chumpy Trump, the Chomo for Rikers Island instead of Epstein's Island. Ryan, tell us how you really feel. Yikes. January 6th, the hoax case. It was a big lie. The information coming out about January 6th, particularly from the right, is so convoluted. It's so complex. I don't know. I'm baffled because the day it happened, it was Black Lives Matter. It was Antifa. But then Trump is suggesting it was a love fest. It was a great day. The people he would consider pardoning folks. So if folks to this day are still kind of having this mixed message that it was Antifa or Black Lives Matter or Ray Epps. So these are groups that are negative to MAGA. Antifa certainly has no love for MAGA, and certainly Black Lives Matter does not. But if they represent those groups, why would Trump do a song with them and offer to pardon him and suggest that it was a great day. The day that Antifa showed up and ruined your protests. So I'm still baffled by the messaging coming out of January 6th. I don't know what it is. We can debate whether it was a peaceful protest or riot or insurrection, whatever you want to call it. But the messaging coming from the right doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm not talking about the liberals at all. I'm talking about there are folks on the right suggesting that they were Antifa, the FBI, Ray Epps, and even Black Lives Matter. But then Trump is saying it was a great day. They were peaceful protesters. He would pardon them and did a song with Black Lives Matter. And Trump said and Black Lives Matter was a terrorist outfit. Why would he make a song with a bunch of terrorists? Why would he be offering to pardon a bunch of terrorists? The point of it, the messaging is all over the place. I don't know what happened on January 6th or who it was, but what I'm hearing from the right doesn't make a lot of sense. It just doesn't. Is it a love fest or is it an insurrection? Was it Antifa or was it MAGA that has been over sentenced and deserves to be pardoned? Who was it? Because the messaging is all over the place from the right, not from liberals, from the right. They're calling them everything. One more time, Carl Gamel III, incredibly difficult time bringing up guests. It was a setup and they need pardon ASCP. Okay, but who was it? You can't, if you're going to pardon them, if you're going to suggest it wasn't an insurrection or a coup, can you at least tell us who the hell it was? Who was there? What were they trying to do? Antifa was trying to stop the steal? Black Lives Matter thought Trump had the election stolen from him by Biden, so Black Lives Matter was protesting on Trump's behalf? Can someone explain why the description of January 6th is so odd? It doesn't make a lot of sense. That's all I'm saying. Not doubting anyone or confirming anyone, just trying to get some clarity, and some of the things being said don't make sense. For instance, Tommy Brown Jr. on YouTube says Democrats organized January 6th. Then why is Trump pardoning them and saying it was a great day? Trump thinks that the Democrats did a good job on January 6th for him. He decided to make a song with a bunch of Democrats. Is it okay to ask these questions, or should we just, turn a blind eye and stop talking about it? So you don't get that people who were planted didn't get arrested, and the people that didn't even go inside or were even there have been jailed. Can you at least investigate first? Roger Burton, I'm under the impression that it was investigated, and we don't take the word of the investigators. If you believe the FBI is corrupt, that's who's going to investigate it. Understand that. It's going to be a federal entity that's going to investigate what happened on January 6th. So if you don't think the FBI is trustworthy, why call for an investigation? That's who's going to do it. So I don't know what you're saying about at least investigate it. You're not going to take the word of the folks that provide you the answer to the investigation. You think they're corrupt. Yes, they did have a full investigation, but some people don't take it that way or don't believe it. That's the point I'm making, is that you want it investigated, but it's like I mentioned earlier with my caller, who could tell you what happened on January 6th and you'd actually believe them? Because you're not going to trust anybody. Even Attorney General Barr, Trump's top cop, who investigated election fraud, we think he don't know what he's talking about either. So where's the information going to come from? Ginger Beard, we're still trying to bring up guests. TikTok is all down today, apparently. I'm down the debate, click my box, says Max. I don't think that's how the program works. but I'm trying to bring up guests. And Wild West forever. There is no trust. That's not true. MAGA overwhelmingly trusts Trump. The problem is, if under some odd circumstance, Trump happens to be lying about something, there is no backup that could correct Trump. But there is a lot of trust for Trump. But yeah, if he lies about something and someone wants to tell you he's lying, I don't know who that person could be. That's where the problem is. Looking in the comments. We start to have guests. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the show, though. So even a Capitol Police officer was indicted. That doesn't show favoritism to me. I disagree. You got video Tucker Carlson featured showing Capitol Police officers letting folks in. There is no denying that happened, that the Capitol Police were letting people in without being challenged. To me, the favoritism is not holding the Capitol Police officers accountable for doing that. Folks are suggesting they were giving out tours. That's bullshit to me. Because just like there is video of people being let in, there is video of people being, violently entering the building as well, breaking windows, climbing walls. So the obvious question, no matter if you're with the police that are letting people in, or if you're on the side where people are breaking windows and coming into building violently, you have a radio on your hip or on your breast pocket. There is no denying that every police officer, whether the ones letting people in or dealing with people that are breaking in, they all knew part of the building was being overrun. At least a part of it was. So why the hell would you be giving tours when part of the building is being compromised? So yeah, those Capitol Police officers on video letting people in need to at the very least testify to what the hell was going on. Otherwise, yeah, they look like they're in on it. I think one Capitol Police officer even had a damn MAGA hat on. Yeah, you got to explain that. You got to explain why they do have video of you peacefully letting people in and letting them roam around. You absolutely knew that some of your fellow men in blue were under duress. It had to be coming through the walkie-talkie. Y'all in the same damn building. So yeah, I see a little bit of favoritism there. Something don't look right about that. Now, Victor Espinosa says traitors. Could be. We know law enforcement overwhelmingly favors the right as opposed to the left. The left is very critical of law enforcement. Defund the police, things like that. So it is possible that folks on January 6th believed that MAGA was fighting the good fight, helping Trump defend the election, stop the steal. And we're, sympathetic to what was going on and let folks in and things like, because they may have also would have. That's possible. That is possible. But yeah, giving guided tours and letting people in when your radio is filled with cops screaming they need backup, you need to be held accountable as a Capitol Police. And it wasn't. And they haven't been held accountable, which plays into Trump's claim that it's a witch hunt. If you believe it was an insurrection or a coup, everybody involved should be held accountable. Why are the Capitol Police that let in folks that you refer to as insurrectionists, why are they not being charged as well? That's a legitimate case to make. It does come across as you only want MAGA. You don't want everybody involved. You only want MAGA. I gotta say that based on what I've seen, that would be a legitimate claim to make. Look in the comments. The messaging on January 6th is all over the place because the MAGA base can't handle such a stain. Could be. There probably is some validity to that. It definitely makes no sense for the messaging to go all the way from Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Ray Epps, to it was a good day, it was a love fest, and I should pardon them and make a song with them. There's more to it. Y'all Democrats watch this man idolize Hitler. Y'all Democrats watch this man idolize Hitler. There is a book, we talked about it before, and I don't know why I can't bring up guests, but we talked about John Kelly, General John Kelly, who was Trump's chief of staff, making his way on cable news. Yeah, he's telling folks that Trump had a habit of idolizing Hitler, saying that Hitler did great things, you know, presented a strong economy. We know that Trump's ex-wife talked about Trump keeping Hitler's speeches on the side of the bed. Y'all think that's true? You think that Trump really would favor Hitler? You think it's really? Wow. Real quick. Yeah, the ones wearing masks broke windows. Well, like I said, when it comes to January 6th, the police that were letting folks in absolutely were wearing radio equipment. That equipment undoubtedly featured officers calling for backup. You can't give a tour with cops calling and screaming for backup at the same time. There's no way in hell you're going to lead anyone to believe that the Capitol Police letting people in peacefully did not know the other side of the building was being overran. They knew, in fact, that all of the House and Senate were there, and the building was actually closed. It wasn't even open to tours on January 6th. So, yeah, I do believe that if you're going to suggest that MAGA acted criminally on January 6th, you got to go after the Capitol Police. Otherwise, it does look like a hit job on MAGA. There's no explanation for why the Capitol Police are not, at the very least, having to show up and explain why they did that. In defense of Trump and MAGA, they were trying to hide that. They were trying to hide what the Capitol Police did on January 6th. They only showed you the videos of people entering violently. They were trying to hide the fact that there does appear to be a hell of a lot of Capitol Police co-conspirators there that day. They should be held accountable if it is a coup. If you're going to claim it's an insurrectionist, there is no justification for why a sworn officer is not being held accountable, but a guy in a Viking hat and face paint is. There's no explanation for that. So until you hold the Capitol Police officers accountable as well, I really can't blame MAGA for suggesting it's a hit job. I really can't. There's video of folks working with them to let them in. It's illegal for me to be here, but it's not for him to let me in. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. So I can't argue with folks who say, it don't seem like you want justice. It seems like you want Trump and MAGA. Until that changes, I cannot argue with it. Now, we know the court system can do that sometimes, but in my opinion, it does make sense to question, why is the Capitol Police getting away with it? Why did you try not to show us people being let in? Why did you only focus on the violent entrance? I mean, QAnon Shaman was made out to be a demon because of the face paint and the Viking hat. Never saw the video of him being let in and standing there until the Tucker Carlson video or whatever. I'm not defending what happened. I'm asking questions of, why was that kept out of the public eye? Other than, I wanted to go after MAGA, but not have any Capitol Police get caught up in the fray. Even though it's clear they were in on it. I mean, it's clear they were cooperating with them. So I don't know. All you hear now is democracy, people waking up. All right, looking in the box one more time. We've been trying to bring guests in the whole time. It's not about yours truly, Bloviate. I have certainly been trying to bring up guests. Something is wrong with the app. We'll try it again with Mason. I've tried to bring up about 6 guests, and it's just not cooperating. Maybe it's because you guys haven't been tapping the screen or smashing that like button on YouTube. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It may be your connection. Could be. I see all your comments coming in. I do see that cops did go to jail. Snoop, They were trying to seriously punish the folks who came in the Capitol building. I want to hear about cops getting fired and in prison. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing it. Not enough of them. That video showing them being let in, I watched the January 6th hearings. I didn't hear them talking about bad cops hardly at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's clear congressmen like Jim Jordan was involved. Like I said, to me, it looks like a hit job where the only targets were MAGA and Trump. Those Capitol Police officers need to be held accountable. They really do. Nice one, Tim, but it's the app. I don't know. Maybe it is. We, the people, are the kings and queens. Wake up, people. No one is above us. All right. Real quick, let me see on YouTube. I do appreciate you folks hanging in here while I'm rambling on when I'd rather be talking to you. Enable developer options in your phones. Developer options. Stop that malware. That's what's wrong. We've been running the program for 3 years. None of your business. We never had no problem like that. The police union is the only bad union in the world. Certainly some validity to that. Now, something real quick just to elaborate on that. Suggesting that the police union is the only bad union in the world. Remember about 10, 15 years ago where we really went anti-union in this country? Because unions make it hard to fire bad people. Unions make it so that you can't cross-train. It encourages lazy folks, makes it hard for businesses, things like that. No one went after the police unions, even though they do all the same shit. Think about that. That actually happened. He's right when he says police unions are the only bad union. No one went at the police unions, even though all of the criticism, you get a teacher making $80,000 a year and she's at home sick, been doing it for 3 years. You don't think cops get the same passes and leeway? No one went after the police unions. And they also make it hard as hell to fire bad cops, the ghost payrolling, living off discipline, do all of that stuff. The police unions got to pass. So I do agree with my commentator there. From both perspectives, the officers failed to do their job. These cops are under who again? No investigation. Why do people hate talking about serious issues? This is how civil wars are made. I am petrified, before we wrap the program up due to its malfunction, but I'm petrified of the thought of civil unrest because I don't know what the sides are. I don't know what the goals are. What are we? What is both sides fighting for? What is the end goal? Now, the Civil War, the original Civil War, we kind of knew what that was over. Whether people are honest about it or not, we knew what the goal was, is to leave the South alone. Let us be to our own devices. We don't want to fall victim to the rules and regulations of the North. If we want slavery, we should be able to have it. If we don't want taxation of going down here, we don't want to have to live the way you in the North think we should live. So the Civil War, the first one, in my opinion, is a little bit easier now that we have, the power of an armchair quarterback, or you can Monday morning quarterback, and you can kind of see what was going on. But what would be the goal of, is it simply to put Trump in office? Let's say Trump loses and folks believe the election is stolen. Is that the goal, to overthrow the government and reinstall Trump in power? What would be the goal of a civil war? I want to see, maybe to get the immigrants out of this country. Maybe you believe there's too many of them and they need to be pushed back south of the border. That would be violent as hell. But what would be the goal? Change the laws, says Victor Espinosa. What law needs to be changed? Here's my take on it. If you have civil unrest, a civil war of sorts, it's a perfect time to air grievances. Whatever you hate on this side or hate on that side, this is like, for instance, during the civil rights struggles of let's take Black Lives Matter, for instance, when they were starting to make gains and getting folks to notice corruption from police, other folks started joining in the fray. LGBT decided, well, now it's my time to speak up. The feminist movement, all of a sudden, now it's time to get more, rights for women. Everybody was jumping in it. I do believe that if we have civil unrest, that will start happening. Right now in this country, there is a lot of grievance against immigrants, but it doesn't stop at immigrants. The LGBT community would certainly be involved in that. There are a lot of folks that believe they too are hurting this. It ain't just immigrants. Like when Trump says poison in the blood, which means you're really turning the country from what we're used to something else that is darker and not necessarily favorable to this nation. Folks believe the immigrants are doing that, coming in over here as gangbangers, bringing fentanyl. I'm giving you what they're saying, raping and murdering people. So you believe that this group needs to be, well, folks believe that transgender folks is doing stuff like that too. So if you're transgender and a civil conflict breaks out, you ain't safe. You would be part of the target. You ain't, because folks believe that you too are harmful to this nation. God forbid, hopefully I'm not considered harmful to this nation, but never know. But it would, I don't know what the end goal would be, but it would spread to a lot of different groups. Our goal is liberty in our Constitution. Well, we know what the Constitution is. Liberty can be interpreted a hell of a lot of ways. Liberty just means freedom. Freedom to do what? Maybe you want a neighborhood that is 100% black. Freedom to kick every white person. What the hell does liberty mean? Liberty could mean any damn thing. That's where the frightening part is. Remember, what the South was asking for during the first Civil War was wrapped up in the phrase used was liberty. I can't think of the word I'm trying to get, terminize or whatever the hell I'm trying to say. But yeah, liberty can mean any damn thing. Freedom to do what? Right now, you often hear the favoring of states' rights. Usually when you hear a state saying, we want the right to do something, is usually take away the rights of citizens in the state to do something. It's usually, states' rights is usually used to take away rights, not to give additional rights to people. It's usually, I want my state, without federal interference, to have the right to stop this from happening. Stop them from doing that. That's usually what states' rights is. It's usually a loss of freedom for someone. So, and I see in the comments, Gomez says, then move. You don't always have the right to. You don't always have the right to move. Understand that when governments get oppressive, and I'm talking about globally, I'm talking about historically, not just U.S. or nothing like, but generally, when a government becomes oppressive, the first thing they do is prevent people from leaving. Because if a country starts losing citizens, it gets weaker. You can't just leave North Korea. You can't just leave Russia. Even in Texas, where they're passing these laws where a woman can't terminate a pregnancy, they're also passing laws that say she can't leave to do it either. If you use the highway in Texas to travel to another state, you can be held accountable for it. And they have the same thing in Missouri where they deem the fetus inside of you as a resident of Missouri. So if you go somewhere else and terminate it, when you come back to Missouri, what happened to that resident that was inside of you? Let's sit down and have a conversation. So the first thing an oppressive government does is prevent people from leaving, because that's the first thing everybody wants to do. I don't want to be here. I'm going to leave. They make it hard to leave. So if it does go that way, I'm not saying it is, but if it does go in that direction, I can guarantee you're not just going to be able to leave. That's going to be the first thing they try to stop you from doing. You ain't going to be able to leave. What law is that, Tim? I don't think you're correct. I need to look it up. Well, you can look up both of them. The law in Texas makes it a crime to use their highways to facilitate an abortion. Texas highways abortion. Shouldn't be hard to look that up. The law in, I believe it's either South Carolina or North Carolina, where they talk about making it a capital offense to have an abortion where a woman can qualify for the death penalty. Death penalty, abortion, South Carolina. Shouldn't be hard to look that one up. Missouri, where they wanted to deem the embryo, the fetus inside of a woman, as a resident of the state. And the representative, I've done a show on this, the representative in Missouri, a congresswoman, it was a woman too, by the way, a congresswoman said, we're passing this law because we want to make sure that if someone from our state leaves and terminates a pregnancy, they're held accountable for that resident inside of them. Resident Missouri abortion law. Just Google it. You should be able to find all three of those. Shouldn't be that hard to find. I run an uncensored program, so I'm going to let you say whatever the hell you want about the host. So there's no benefit to making up a lie when you're free to criticize me on it. So if I tell you something, either I don't know what the hell I'm talking about or it's true. I don't have time to make up lies. I'll let you speak. So you're going to point it out right away. Look it in the comments. Crazy Trump was our president. Too many people just don't realize that. And I mean for the people. I don't quite get that, Mark. Crazy Trump was our president. Too many people just don't realize that. Everybody realizes that Trump was our president. I don't quite get your comment. Still not able to bring up, folks. I'm really disgruntled about that. And I've been trying the whole damn time. Tim, you don't know we the people are the superiors and above the government. Crazy J504, you're 100% correct. But there is a but there. While I agree that we the people are superiors to the government, we the people must first have unity for it to be successful. If we don't unite, it's a hell of a lot easier for the government to keep us divided and they remain in power. Right now, we're not unified by any means at all. We're not a unified nation. So you're correct, but because unity is required for it to actually work, it's not gonna. But I appreciate the comment. You have to restart the live to fix the guest box. Yikes. Well, you know how it is, folks. I do appreciate the 123,000 likes. Monday through Friday is when we're here, 1 p.m. Central. And for you folks on YouTube, this is how we run the program, uncivilized. Civilized, damn it. Civilized dialogue both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host blocking, banning, or censoring folks. You're free to speak here. That's how we do it. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. For my YouTube audience, certainly thank you for tuning in despite the TikTok mishap where I couldn't bring on guests. So we'll do it again at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Have a good one.